Showtime at the Apollo.
Meeting for December 10th, 2018 for the Truth in Taxation public hearing. Let the record reflect it. December 10th, 2018 at 5 p.m. in the Village Hall, 14122 Chicago Road, Dolton, Illinois. Any person desiring to appear at this public hearing and present a testimony to the taxing district may contact Mary Kay Dugan, Village Clerk, Village of Dolton, 14122 Chicago Road, Dolton, Illinois, 708-201-3295. 2. The corporate and special purpose property taxes extended or abated for 2017 tax year were $7,236,492. The proposed corporate and special purpose property taxes to be levied for 2018 tax year are $8,966,316. This represents a 23.90% increase over the previous year. The property taxes extended for debt service and public building commission leases for 2017 tax year were $6,123,249. The estimated property taxes to be levied for debt service and public building commission leases for 2018 tax levy are $4,838,294. This represents a 21.23% decrease over the previous year. The total property taxes extended or abated for 2017 tax year were $13,359,741. The estimated total property taxes to be levied for 2018 tax year are $13,804,610. This represents a 3.3%.
Trustee Muhammad?
Here.
Trustee Stubbs?
Here.
Trustee House?
Here.
Trustee Denton?
Present.
Trustee Pearson?
Here.
Trustee Henyard? Absent. And if I may also add, Mayor, the notice that you read aloud was published in the Daily Southtown last Monday, December 3rd, and posted here at the Village Hall on that date as required by state law.
Okay. There's not really agenda here for the public hearing. Anyone that would like to ask questions of this body in regards to this proposed tax levy can come to the podium.
My question is, with this proposed tax levy, what's going to be different than the last previous year that got us in this situation in the first place? We went from 2 million, 4 million, whichever one it was, to 9 million. So, what the monies that was in the general fund, the money that was in the water fund, it was a misappropriation of funds somewhere. And my question is, what, with this tax levy, should it pass, should it go through, if it's already done went through, what's going to be different so that we don't get to 18 million, 20 million? That's it.
I'm going to direct that question to the finance chairperson.
Okay, thank you for your question, and I'll try to do my best, but I wish you would stay there because this is really an administration question that you're asking of the overall budget, and I'll give you my opinion.
Okay.
I would hope that the mayor would have took the leadership role and answered your question, but I'll do the best that I can. You want to answer it then, Mayor?
I'm not
you want to
answering
refer it to me? Because I have no problem answering it.
Okay, answer it. You put this budget together. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
There are some internal controls that have to take place. If this problem was hit on, let's say 5 years ago or so, we wouldn't be in the condition that we are now. Currently, we have no finance manager. I don't know any plans of getting a finance manager or director. There are a lot of internal controls that have to happen, that should happen, that should have happened. But again, we can raise the levy, we can raise fees, but if you don't fix it internally, it's going to be, as you're saying, it's going to be repeated. Even with this levy being raised, we still have a deficit. It has nothing to do with the finance chair putting a budget together. The way it works is this way. The administration comes up with the budget. For example, we had a dog and pony show here some months back where it was stacked with people saying, you got to save these jobs, you got to save this. We have an independent audit saying the exact same thing that we have been saying. You can't take money out of the water fund continually. You can't take money out of TIF funds continually to pay bills. You can't continue to borrow bonds to pay bills. You can't do it that way. Year after year after year, this has happened, and us raising the levy and doing all these others, we're going to continue to have the same problem if you don't work on the internal controls. You have to have an independent person or agency within the infrastructure of this village. Case in point, we had a finance manager, okay? The finance manager is part of the administration, and she did the best she can with this budget. She was told by previous administration, a village administrator, we need money for this, take it out of that fund, take it out of this. Rob Peter to pay Paul. You don't run a municipality like that, you don't run a corporation like that. Now, what I'm telling you is hard truths. It's not about your opinion on what you feel. We have an independent agency. The numbers are here, and I think someone was concerned about it being published on the website. It should be on the clerk can probably answer best when this would be published. But go through these numbers. The numbers don't lie. Go through the recommendations of the auditor, and they're there. They're an independent agency that came in here and looked at our books, and they're abysmal. And the condition of this village is deteriorating.
I got a follow-up question based off what you just said. So who specifically is responsible for that happening? Water or money's being taken out of the water fund or those things? Because if the money is already allocated for this specifically, why was it changed, and who authorized that change if it was not the board completely? Was it one individual? Was it two individuals? How did that mix-up come about?
You want to answer that?
Are you speaking to the water fund and the $8 million?
Yeah.
So years back, the funds we did not have separated accounts, meaning that in the way that we should have, and over the years as we got audits, the auditor recommended that we split the funds, and we followed that directive. However, going back to 2010, 2011, all the money that came into one bank account, the general fund. So the water funds were coming in there, some TIF money was coming in there, and the money should not have all been in that account to make sure that we can see this money should go for this fund, this should go for that. When it was being spent on daily operations. So there was not a person that was responsible for transferring funds. The different bank accounts were never set up. After we've gotten, and I would say 4 to 5 years ago, I'm sure the board, being here a little bit longer than me, would know, but as we started getting audited financials, we got the recommendations, and I think that we followed all of the recommendations to the best of our ability. And now we're in a place where we're in a deficit, and I think that we all know that there is a deficit, so we have to figure out what the best way to move forward will be. To your question of what will this will cover us, so that way we can take care of the city of Chicago in the way that we've negotiated our settlement, but we do still have financial challenges, and I think we have to, on both ends, look at ways of covering the budget, and also make sure that as we're raising taxes, that the services that we're getting for our taxes are there. And I think that's probably been the biggest challenge, is that we're paying the taxes, but we're not always seeing the service, and that's what we're going to work to do, or I'll work to do.
Well, you answered my question halfway.
I'll answer fully for you, because I don't think it was answered.
Yeah,
who was responsible?
Yeah,
who was responsible? That said, well, the money was in an account, we didn't have segregated funds. I think that's what I heard, right?
Yeah, my question is, irregardless of how the money was brought in, which account it was put in, what have you. If the money was coming in, bills had to be paid. The water fund is a part of that bill. I'm trying to figure out, if we were at $4 million in the water, or $2 million, whatever it was, $2 million, if the water bill was a part of that, then who or who did not pay that bill to the point to where we at $9 million right now? Somebody, the financial, I know it's the process of how payments go. I'm aware of that. But there's somebody that has to do checks and balances to make sure that whomever was supposed to make sure that that bill got paid, it got paid. I want to know, where did the failure come from? Because whoever failed to do their job is responsible for the condition that we're in. That's what I need to know. A straight answer from. Can anybody answer that question?
Our former village administrator.
A former. Okay, so you're telling me that the former village administrator, right? Okay, well, that means the mayor is responsible, because the mayor is responsible for everybody that's hired on his team. As a leader, you're supposed to do checks and balances. I'm trying to, Mayor, what happened there? Can you elaborate? I mean, because I'm trying to.
It seems like you want to get political already, because every time, the last 3 times you've been here, it's always been the mayor. But let me tell you something.
Is that not your position?
The administrator presents everything to the board. Okay? This board, part of this board, and some of the previous board, knew exactly what was happening. They approved all the moves. They moved money from one place to the other. The other thing is, if we're going to blame the administrator here, this board continued to use that administrator on a contractual basis after he left here. Lastly, we've only been without a finance director for about a month.
Correct.
So to blame the finance director and to blame the village administrator, this board knew, like I said, some of the board, not all of the board, but some of those members that was here, they knew what was going on. They knew that the accounts weren't segregated. They had been briefed, and they had been in that office with the previous administrator, more than I had, asking it about questions on how things are getting paid, where's money coming from. It's just here recently that they've come up with a plan, or somewhat of a plan, to say we've got some financial issues. Everybody's been in office here, not everybody, but majority of people have been in office here close to 4 years. When I was a trustee, we got a letter from the city of Chicago saying, this is 2013, saying that for the next 5 years there's going to be a 25% increase on the water. I was the only one that wanted to do a water increase, pass that cost off to the customers. But there was an election coming up, it was never passed off. And we continue to have estimated bills lower than what we were paying for water. And now, when we have to play catch up, everybody's blaming it on me. But those costs, and we're not the only village that receives water from the city of Chicago, they get the same letter that we do, and they pass those costs off. And we never did it. We never did it. It was just until recently, last year, that they increased the water rates. But we did a survey through Mayors and Managers Association, and we're one of the lowest suburbs that is paying for water. I mean, not paying for water, but passing that cost off to the customer. We're one of the lowest suburbs. There's suburbs out here that's paying, I think ours is at $5 and something a unit. There's suburbs out here paying $16 and something a unit. Yeah. You know, so you can't buy a product for more than what you're selling it for. And those costs over the 5 years have not been passed off. And consequently, this village has incurred the cost of that.
Okay, I'm not, Mayor, again, this is not an attack. This is just simply me trying to get answers to a question that's...
Well, when you say it's the mayor's fault, that administrator has passed off information on to the board too. Now you have to realize that I don't vote. I don't vote unless there's a tie. Everything that comes here, these ordinances that are passed, this board votes on, or previous boards have voted on. And maybe 3 to 4 times a year, when there's a stalemate, I vote. Other than that, I don't vote. I don't control the budget. This board, not all members, but this board has created this budget. They've lined people out. They added money where they wanted to. They trimmed money where they wanted to. You know, we talked about trimming trees. We talked about fixing sidewalks. Those line items have been reduced. You know, and when that budget is produced here, these board members vote on it, not me.
Who is responsible for creating the budget? Whose job is that?
Well,
Is it the board's job?
No, sir.
To create?
No, no,
Because
sir.
a lot of people don't understand.
Listen. Let me
Whose
tell you
job
something.
is
Let me tell you something. It's the administration's job to propose the budget. After consultation with our village manager, do you think I can get a budget passed here? As mayor,
And this is deflecting.
As mayor, me putting together a budget. Do you really think I can get it passed with this board?
Well, I can't say that unless you put a
Why
budget
spin my
together.
wheels then? Why spin my wheels?
Oh, come on.
Why spin my? I can put a budget here today. It wouldn't reflect how they put the budget together and what they trimmed out.
Yeah,
You know, you want to blame me. You want to blame me. And there was a deficit when I came into office. Okay, and then but the residents expect good services, and they wipe my office out. How you gonna get the services? How you gonna get them? There's been communications. And whether you want to agree with it or not, there's been a lot of politics going on here. There's been communications that have been deprived from this village. I mean,
am I not a part of this village, man? Am I not a taxpayer? I own that home at 14338 downtown. I'm the one that pay the taxes on it. So what I'm telling you is
you want
my
services,
money.
don't you? And you want services, don't you?
Absolutely,
Okay,
and that's why I'm up here
it-
talking.
It costs for services, and I would not have trimmed this budget the way it's been trimmed, because it costs money to make money. One of the things we have to do is bring in revenue here.
Yes.
And it's been very difficult to do that with a negative impact and a negative vision for this village. You know, so I've had all my powers taken away here. All of them. You don't think that's political? Yes, it is. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when I get with other mayors and go to meetings and things like that, and you can't get things done. I didn't change the ordinances.
Man, when they took your powers, didn't I stand up here and talk against them for that? I did. I spoke against that.
Okay,
So
I don't remember, but
it's okay. But that's not why
appreciate
we're
that.
not here. We
Well,
on the paper it says we sticking to what this specific meeting is about.
Yeah.
And so I just want to stick to that. That's all. I just want to know where are right now with this levy going in. What is going to be different now? Because again, if what you're saying is true, if the same thing is in place, we're going to go another 4 or 5 years repeating the same thing. What is going to be different?
I'm going to say this, that you know, Trustee Muhammad said you can't continue to borrow money to pay your bills. Okay. There's villages and towns that renew bonds regularly to pay debt. And in doing that, they set up a structure to create revenue too. Now, how many of these board members have did anything to create some revenue here? But I can tell you that a lot of them had did some things to decrease it. When you go out and you hold press conferences and talk negatively about your village, why would people want to come here? Why would people want to stay? Why would businesses want to come in? We have to have businesses. We have to sell houses. We have to create revenue here in order to. It's just like running a mom and pop store. It's only a 5-mile radius town. You open the doors, you do customer service, and you create revenue. Whether you're selling a product or you're figuring out a way to bring revenue in. That's what makes it go around.
Okay, I can agree with you on that. Now, in the same breath, I want to ask you, as the mayor, what have you done to bring revenue into this town?
You see those new businesses that come in here? I'm not responsible for all of them, but I can tell you I've probably made 800 phone calls since I've been in office trying to get businesses here. I can tell you that much.
Well, that's good. I wanted you to say that so it can be heard, because we don't hear what you do.
Do you think these new businesses come in here on their way? You know, Dolton, they're giving away something today. We're going to move our business in.
The way you just said it, it's the board that controls everything, and you don't have a voice. So I'm just want to make sure that if you telling me that you do have a voice, let me hear your voice as your constituent. Let me hear that.
How do you think we don't have an economic development person, okay? But one of the things in sales, you got to cold call. You got to sell your product. You got to sell yourself. You got to sell what would be advantageous to a business to come here. What would be advantageous to a homeowner to come to buy a home here. You have to sell. You know, you have to create a good image. You have to make sure we have good public safety and good police. That's what you sell to bring people here, and that's what you sell to keep people here. You know, people are not dying to come to Dolton. And it's hard to continue to sell, and it's hard to continue to keep people here when we have activity to go on like this. We shoot our own self in the foot.
I agree.
So it's not just about balancing the budget. It's also about creating revenue so you can pay your bills and live within your means. But it's nothing new for towns to renew bonds, to pay off debt, and create other ways to generate revenue to pay those bonds off.
Okay, thank you.
Let me respond to that, because my name was just mentioned about bonds. Think of a bond like a credit card. When we get a bond, there's interest to be paid. So if we bond $1 million, $900,000, $2 million, you don't pay back that amount. You pay back with interest, okay? And that interest accrues. Every year we pay around $6 million just servicing the debt.
$6 million.
$6 million a year in just servicing the debt of bonds that we borrowed or tried to sell. $6 million. South Holland, every year, $1 million. That means the money that we're bringing in for revenue is going off to pay a lot of the debt that we have. So when you continue to justify us getting these bonds, it's insanity. Because what you're doing, you're borrowing money and you're paying back that money with interest on top of that, and the interest accrues. And that interest is at the tone of $6 million every year. We have a finance meeting on the 26th of December where we'll go through the independent audit. It takes away the politics, it takes away blaming, whatever. You asked the question in the very beginning, us raising the levy, what's to happen in the future to better our condition? We have what's called a management letter here that the audit company, this is not the trustees, this is not the finance chair as it was deferred to earlier. It's an independent agency that came in and made recommendations. The trustee referred to the recommendations made at the back. You have what you call a recommendation by the auditors, and then at the end, you have your management response. I'll give you an example. Capital asset policy appraisal. Management response. You go to the very beginning first. Let me give a simpler one because that gets a little technical. I'll give a much simpler one. These are not my words. These are not the mayor's words. This is an independent auditing agency that came in and looked at our books that have come in for the last 5 years. Use of motor fuel tax and TIF restricted funds. Comment from the auditor. Previously and during our current year-end procedures, we noted that the village has used in the past restricted TIF and motor fuel tax dollars to sustain its operation. What does that mean? That means that you've taken money from the TIF and for the motor fuel tax to pay the bills. These funds are restricted for specific purposes and should not be used by the village for its general operations. As a result of this practice, the village has in inter-fund payable balances with these funds and the general fund at April 30, 2018 for the following balances. And we'll go over those numbers on the 26th. Recommendation from the auditors. Due to the sensitivity of TIF and motor fuel tax funds, we recommend the village create a repayment plan to reduce these interfund payables. In addition, the village should make it a practice to no longer use the cash from these funds and create a plan to make the village's cash flow sustainable without going into those funds. This is management's response. Management is working to identify expenditures charged to general fund that were eligible, TIF or motor fuel tax expenditures. Part of that analysis decreased the balance by $467,353. What is the status? Where do we stand now? It says this comment has not been implemented and will be repeated in the future. That means, getting back to your question, it's going to be repeated in the future because there is no plan.
He's talking about the 13.
Well, Trustee Muhammad, you act like this just came out. You've been a trustee for almost 4 years. These recommendations came out early on when your administration, early on when you got elected. Now all of a sudden it's election time, and now it's a huge issue. It's always been a huge issue. When I came into office, we hadn't had an audit for several years. We hadn't had an audit for 7 years, and then not only that, there were bonds from 2008 and 2009 that weren't paid. We're suffering the results from those bonds.
I'd like to respond if you don't.
Go ahead.
Okay. We've been audited for the last 5 years, as we all will agree, and I agree with you wholeheartedly coming in 2013 because I was a media person at that time. This place was in abysmal condition. No records to be found. We were told by the, what was his title at that time, Mayor? He was the treasurer or whatever. He told us...
Can you talk into the microphone so everyone can hear you?
I'm sorry. Thank you, sir. He told us at that time all the trustee had to do was come to him and say, hey, the mayor told me to write it. Not this mayor. I'm talking about the previous mayor. I'm talking about previous to 2013. It was in abysmal shape. We got audits from that year on. But what I'm trying to make, and Mayor, you keep turning this political, and I'm just reading you the words of the Lauterbach Group, okay? And management response is the administration's response. It's not the chairman of finance's response. It's not the trustee's response. These are the internal responses from the administration's management of what they should do in order to be compliant with the audits that are done by Lauterbach. But we've had at least 5 audits. The last 4 were probably better, meaning we had records to attain to give to them, and this has been the cleanest of all. But it's not the trustees. It's not the trustees' responsibilities to go into a TIF fund. It's not the trustees' responsibility to go into the motor fuel tax to do an interfund transfers. No, it's not.
And you're saying that you weren't aware of it.
I'll say it again.
You're saying you weren't
We're
aware
hearing
of
the
it.
same thing over and over again.
Exactly.
Can I ask my question?
Go ahead, Ted.
Can you go up from that end to this end, and if the board members can
Thank you.
say their names and say how long they have been on the board?
What's that got to do with anything?
It's a public hearing.
You know me, right?
Yes,
Okay.
and just go down the line. No, what's your name and how long have you been on the board?
You want me to answer that too?
Please say your name and how long you have been on the board.
Dwayne Muhammad, I've been on this board now for 3 years, going on 4.
Okay, the next person.
It'll be 4 in May.
Trustee Stubbs. I've been on this board and active in this community. I've been on the board for 3 going on 4 years.
Okay.
Jason House, 1.5 years, be 2 years in May.
Mayor Rogers, I've been on the board for 6 years.
I'm not a member of the board, but I'd be happy to answer.
No, you're not a member. You don't vote.
Thankfully, no.
I've been on the board 1 year and 7 months.
Okay.
Robert Pearson. I've been on the board 5 years, going on 6.
Okay, so we have from 3 to 6 years almost.
Yes.
Did you vote for paying certain bills? Did you vote for certain budgets?
Yes.
So how about the rest of them? Tell me yes or no. Did you vote to pay certain bills, and did you vote to approve certain budgets? I just want the people to answer who've been on the board for more than 3 years, 3 years or longer.
Yes.
Mr. Mohammed, I didn't hear you
No, my
answer.
name is Mohammed. What's your question, sir? What's your question?
Did you vote for budgets that okayed these expenditures over the time you have been on the board?
That's the fiduciary responsibility of every member on this board is to vote for the budget. What is the point
Just
of
give me a simple answer, yes or no.
You can ask me a question. You don't dictate my answer, sir. That's your answer. Take it or let it alone.
So you're refusing to give me a yes or no answer.
My answer stands.
Well, people can go to YouTube and they look at the board meeting and they could see where you proposed and voted for things. How about the next person? Mr. Pearson.
Yes.
Okay, so
What is your question again?
What is your point?
have you approved budgets and voted to pay certain expenses? Have you reduced budgets and taken money away from budgets so those bills couldn't be paid?
Without a doubt, sir, but you're asking questions with the answer that is you want a one question word answer, but that's not what we can give you.
What can you give me then?
What I can tell you is the responsibility of this administration does belong to the mayor.
What do you mean,
He
this
runs the
administration?
day-to-day.
You have taken
Look,
the power
do you-
away from the mayor.
If you
He
don't
can't
want me to
spend money.
answer-
He can't submit a budget that you have
You
to
can't
approve.
overtalk me. If you want to answer to your question, I'll give you that. The mayor runs this administration.
No, the board does.
Okay, I'm done. I can't talk to
You can't talk to somebody who's not going to listen to you.
Answer for me.
The board makes
No, it
the budget, approves the budget, and approves the paying of the bills. That's undeniable. You just have to look at YouTube at the board meetings to see that.
It's got nothing to do with it.
The mayor does not approve paying the bills.
And to the
board
resident-
does.
If he wants an answer to his question, I'll give it. But he can't ask the question and give the answer for a trustee.
Fine, so give me an answer.
I know I won't talk to you anymore if somebody else wants to come up there because you're going to overtalk me. I don't need you to stop me when I'm trying to explain something to you.
I won't overtalk you again.
I'm trying to explain to you that this is the mayor's administration. He can't have it both ways. He sit here and tell you that we shouldn't be in here talking to these department heads, how we come in disrespectful and how we always butting in. You can't have it both ways. There he goes.
Go ahead.
This is the mayor's administration.
Finish.
He is to give us a budget.
That's right.
You just heard on the television.
But he gives you a budget and you won't approve it.
There you go.
You slash it.
You're talking to a wall.
I can't talk to you.
The mayor gives you a budget and you slash it.
That's right.
You make the changes. You approve the budget. The mayor has nothing to do with it. You vote to approve the budget. You vote to pay the bills. You vote to slash staff.
That's
the village
so
board does it, not the mayor.
Don't believe in this deflect. This is deflecting at its best.
Is it true?
No, it's not.
No, let us
No, it's
sit
not
down
true.
and somebody.
No, is it true? Does the village vote to pass the estimate, the budget, and then vote to pay the bills?
That's the
Did the
problem
village
now.
board vote? And there were past village board members in the audience. Did they vote to
No.
take money from the general fund and not pay the water bill?
No.
You want an answer or you want to
We
holler
have
over
never
people?
voted for that.
No.
You vote to pay. I've been here. I hear you vote to
You
pay the
don't hear.
bills.
I'm not going to argue with you, sir.
The mayor wants to repair a sidewalk because it's of a danger, and he's asked, why did you spend this money?
And why do you think that is? Because
Because
the
it was
money ain't there. The money is not there.
But who spent the money?
Well, we said don't spend it, and you got a problem with that. We're saying
did you say don't
spend the money because it ain't there, because the taxes got to go up? You listening to
When
that?
did you say that? When the bills were coming in?
Mister, I can't talk to you.
Sir.
99% of the stuff that I present here is voted against.
That's not true.
It is true.
Not
It is
true.
true.
And when it's done, Mayor, it should be.
I had a $10,000 spending, like every other mayor had before me, $10,000 spending allowance if I needed to. If I needed to. This board reduced it to $1,000. I'm going to tell you what happened.
It's not helping the
Tell the
condition of
truth,
this
Mayor, when you
village.
tell
All this
that.
politicization is not helping the condition of this
Did it-
village. All this politicizing is not going to help this
No.
budget.
Did it not?
And has nothing to do with this levy.
Yes, it is.
It's politicizing you being on that
I
right.
think I
wanna
was
hear
talking.
Who
I think I was talking.
approved
Sir,
the
you
budget
can't
and
have
who
to.
spent the money? The mayor can't approve the budget, the board does. The mayor can't spend the money. The board has to, by ordinance, spend the money as the bills come in.
Don't tell that.
So,
The mayor presents invoices to this village. It is presented to the board to vote on after it is spent. It's not presented before it's spent. So if he comes in tomorrow with $1 million worth of bills, then it's
Come on.
presented to this board.
Be
And we didn't
serious.
spend
Be
it.
serious.
When did
Be
the
serious.
mayor present you with a bill for me?
You understand what I'm saying?
That he
His
generated.
administration is him.
No, I do understand.
No, you don't.
Answer my question.
You don't
When did the
understand.
mayor present you with a bill for $1 million that wasn't for a budgeted item?
When Miss Redmond comes up here, that's the mayor's administration. That's who he hired. That's who he put in that place.
Now you
And
blaming
that's
it
the
on
person
her?
that comes up here.
You blaming
and
it on her now?
presents The budget to the board.
People, all you have to do
Mayor, you can't
is go to YouTube.
You depending.
You
and
can't
look
deflect.
at how this budget is gone through. You look at who certifies to pay the bill. It is not the mayor, it is this board.
Anything that needs to be approved that have come through this board and not in previous boards takes so long to get approved.
It don't matter, Mayor.
If it ever is approved,
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
No, it doesn't.
It does matter. Even if they table something, it never comes back.
It doesn't matter, Mayor.
It does matter.
You
When
can't
you have
overspend.
when you have
and you
safety
can't continue
issues,
to overspend
you're either gonna
in this
pay-
village.
you're either going to
You
pay
can't
now,
borrow Chicago's money
you're going
to
to pay now,
bills.
or you're going to pay later.
You cannot do it, Mayor.
When you have emergency situations that create safety issues and they will put us in a liability state, we're going to either pay now or we're going to pay later. And when we pay later, it's going to be much more than what we would have paid if we would have took care of the
No, it
situation.
ain't, Mayor. You can't overspend.
You're going to tell me a sidewalk that's a foot high shouldn't be repaired. It should just leave it out there as a village liability.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I understand.
If we don't pay for it now, well, we could pay $2,000 or $3,000 for it. We'll be paying $50,000, $100,000 when somebody gets hurt.
Let me ask one more question. The village had properties that were foreclosed, that were
Abandoned,
abandoned because of non-payment of taxes,
or whatever it was a
whatever
foreclosure.
reason.
Right.
I was at the board meeting after the last mayoral election. There was a proposal by a developer who wanted to notify the trustees when a property became available through foreclosure or abandonment or whatever. Didn't want any money up front. They would then develop that property and sell it, not to renters, but to homeowners, people who would have roots in the town, and then when it was sold, pay the village a commission. This board voted it down, would not accept it. But then this board gave those properties away to a developer. Not only you gave the properties away, but you paid the developer who you gave it to their legal fees. So it cost you out-of-pocket money, plus you lost these properties. Is that true or not? Go from one end to the other. Board members, please tell me yes or no.
Because it's not true.
What's not true?
We didn't vote down a developer who was going to develop the properties and put homeowners in them and give them board money back. That's some myth somebody told you.
I was at the board meeting.
Well, who was
the
it?
The first board meeting after the election.
Who was it?
Look at your own board minutes.
Who was
and
it?
you voted no.
Who was it?
Hey,
I don't have the...
Ted.
the clerk
Who was it?
Ted.
And that's not funny.
The clerk,
Ted, anybody...
research that?
Yeah.
And
The problem is
the first election
it's
held in
wrong.
Dorchester after the last mayoral election.
No, stop it.
And this board voted that developer no. They said they wouldn't allow him to do that when he was going to give the village a commission once the property was
That's
sold.
not true.
Never happened.
That's not
Okay.
true. That's not true.
Never happened.
You fishing now.
We have the clerks.
You're on a
to
fishing
reach-
expedition.
Yes.
That's not true.
Not never happened.
Think about that.
There should be records of the minutes, correct?
Yeah. Okay.
It's probably even on YouTube with everyone saying no.
Yeah.
And you're saying it's not true? You know, just because the president lies and gets away with it, doesn't mean you can do it.
And it don't mean that you should sit there and do it.
I'm not doing
Everybody should.
it. I know what
Listen,
I saw.
This is not funny. This is serious business here tonight. It's not funny. And for him to sit up here and tell these lies, this is not funny. The taxes are a huge
Are you
problem.
calling me a liar?
And this administration has raised.
Are you calling me a liar?
Yes,
that
sir.
What I said isn't
Yes,
true?
yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
This is on record.
Yeah,
You're
let it
calling
be
me
on
a
record.
liar, and you
It is on
and the
record.
other
Is that picking it up?
Yes.
people on the board are saying this never happened.
Yes.
All right, Ted. Thank you.
How's everybody doing today? I met with Steve, former media director. Two things. Since the trustee Pearson saying the board is not in control of the budget, was it the board that got rid of me, or was it the mayor that got rid of me? It was the board. The board voted on it.
Yes.
So it was the board that controls the money and that way of what can be spent and what not be spent. Yvonne Redmond, what you just said, Yvonne Redmond presented the mayor's budget.
Right.
And you all turned it down. Y'all got my man back here to do the budget that approved the cuts. So you have to take some ownership of the reality of what's going on.
Listen, I
Just
take
some
ownership of everything I do.
And when I talk to you, I
have
said,
never seen me run from anything I do.
no, but you just said that it's the mayor, that it's the administration's control of the budget.
That's right.
It's the board in control of the budget. But
Let me ask you a question. Do the board go out and spend money?
I
Yes.
haven't spent
no,
money.
answer that question.
Yes. I spent money on BP
How-
Capital. I spent the
on what?
lawyer.
You approve
Y'all
all the
approved BP
settlements.
Capital. I was there. BP Capital. Y'all remember y'all
BP
paid?
Capital hasn't
You
done
remember
a
y'all
house
paid
yet.
Bass
BP
$5,000,
hasn't done a house.
$30,000,
No, tell the
The
truth.
board approved for that.
What has the board spent money on?
$30,000.
Everybody
I'm answering the
comes up
question.
here and wants to defend.
$30,000 to Attorney Bass.
Okay, so we
Wasn't
spent
that the board?
$30,000.
You just asked the question. I answered it.
Hold
But
it.
I'm wasting my 3 minutes.
We have
I wanna- hold up.
$63 million.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
name something besides the 30. Yes, sir.
Hey, so I want to ask one more question. I heard Trustee Muhammad compare the budget meeting to where livelihoods were being controlled to a dog and pony show. Good Lord. Trustee Muhammad, you could be making some good points. I'm not going to say you're not making no good points, but the anger and the vitriol comes across in your delivery. Maybe you should present what's going on. Maybe House should present it, because your anger for the mayor comes across and you lose people in the message. So you got to retailer your message or something, because you could be saying something that's right, but you lose everybody because people can see your anger. So to compare, and I talked to you about that, and you agree with me, to compare the messing with livelihoods, which was my livelihood, and I still have no insurance, but I'm working on that, to a dog and pony show, and you affected lives. I have a wife and a family, and it's a dog and pony show. So if you want to get your message across, maybe you should present what he's saying. Maybe somebody else should, maybe House should present. House is the most independent one, the most level-headed one. Maybe he should present of what's going on with the financial reality of this village. because it gets lost in the angry, because it's all personal. So even with you, it's personal. You're mad at the mayor. You say he's deflecting.
See, it ain't.
So it's
it ain't personal.
It is very personal.
And I told you it wasn't personal. And you know I told you it wasn't personal.
And I disagree with you 300%.
Have I not told you that?
It wasn't personal.
Edward, have I not told you that?
Let me ask you a question. If it wasn't personal.
Did I tell you it was the budget?
Yeah, you said that. Let me ask you a question. If it wasn't personal towards me, why didn't I automatically get the contract? Why is there RFP for my job position if I wasn't doing that wrong and it's not personal? I should get that contract. You shouldn't even send it out for RFP. I'm a Dolton resident and I was doing a good job. Why is it out to everybody instead of giving it to me individually if it's not personal?
It wasn't personal.
Come on.
Good evening, residents, mayor, clerk, board. What's being presented to us tonight for this hearing?
Thank you.
It's supposed to be
Thank you.
the levy.
Can y'all present that to us?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And the discussion should be toward the levy.
Thank you for coming out tonight, but you're not part of this village, so I'm not going to let you speak
Okay,
tonight.
if I could, Mayor, the board voted, and the public should know this. Thank you. Make sure we record on this. The public should know that in developing this budget, we had the consent of this board to have Mr. Marlo Kemp help Mrs. Redmond, our former finance manager. And this young man's background is finance. The only thing that this man is going to talk about, what we have not talked about tonight, is this levy. He was intimately involved with this budget. He's intimately involved with the responses that we have concerning this audit that was made for the village of Dolton by the Lauderback term. This is like the 4th time that this young man has come to the podium to speak, whose background is finance, that the mayor refuses him to speak. He's asked the police department, and I hope we have a 2-shot here. He's asked the police department to escort this man from speaking concerning this budget and this levy. So I just want the public to know that, and for the mayor, yeah, but you have persons in the audience that
That are not residents. She's not a resident.
Listen.
As I was stating, Mayor, and I'm asking with all due respect, we're not talking about anything political. This young man is here to talk about the budget. He's not here about personalities. He's not here to talk about politics, which has been talked about from this rostrum from the beginning, except for the young man asking, are we here about the levy? Can this young man speak concerning the levy, Mr. Mayor?
Are you done? Are you done? Hold on. All right, hold on. Are you done, Trustee Muhammad? You done, Trustee Muhammad? Thanks for coming, Mr. Kemp. You can have a seat.
That's the kind of negotiations we have with this mayor.
Now, you sat up here and you talked about our finance director. You know, if you wanted somebody to talk about what's going on in the village, you should have had a former finance director here.
And this is the deflecting that's got us in this situation.
Right. No, it's not.
Yes, it is,
No,
Mayor.
it's not.
You
No, it's
keep
not.
deflecting.
If there's no further questions for the public hearing, we're going to go right into our special board meeting. Go ahead, Ms. Wells.
Just have one question. Is there a plan to move forward? If it has not been developed, is there a plan to put a plan together, and who's going to be seated at the table? Because it appears to me that everything that's happened past hasn't been the right thing.
Correct.
So what's going to happen going forward? Since we can't discuss the levy, what are we going to do? Nobody wants a tax increase, I'm sure, but we have to do what we have to do. Since that is the direction, how is it going to be managed? Who's going to be in charge? Who's going to sit at the table? What are going to be the processes? The checks and balances did not exist, or we wouldn't be in this position. Who's going to develop that?
Ms. Wells?
Yes.
We need a finance director, prompt,
Okay.
and we need a village. Then the same thing will continue to happen.
So what is going to be done to make those things happen?
Those are mayoral appointments. The mayor is the only one that can appoint those two people.
So, Mayor, are you going
So
to
you have my
appoint?
vote tonight that we get a village administrator and a finance director immediately.
Well, if this board
You know
tells
where I
me,
stand now.
okay, all right. So we know where you stand. So if this board tonight tells me how much they're going to put in the budget for an administrator and a finance director, I can actively go out and solicit and get one. But when you talk to people about coming here as administrator, or you talk to them about coming here as finance director, well, how much does the job pay? I don't know. It's not in the budget.
So
tell me tonight,
can
this
you
board
agree to talk about salaries, because the back and forth has to stop. It's extremely, I'm sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings, it's juvenile. I don't want to hear it anymore. I want to see how we're going to progress. I'm tired to come to meetings. I come to a lot of meetings here, probably more meetings than I attend at my regular job. So we need to meet about how we're going to move forward. If we need administrator, we need the finance director, talk about it. You guys got to learn how to, even if you don't like one another, you got to work together. Figure it out.
This budget was put together by design. If they really wanted a village administrator and finance director, there would have been something put in the budget. Right now, wouldn't you want to know how much you get paid if you qualify for one of the positions?
I do.
Everybody would.
Yeah.
So tonight, tell me how much you want to spend on administrator. Tell me how much you want to spend on a finance director, and I'll actively tomorrow be able to go out and say,
Are you guys prepared to do that? Are you prepared to talk about that? Because the back and forth has to stop.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Starting to give me a headache.
This is public comment. Hold on a minute.
Are you prepared to do it?
I just would like to say this about the finance director. She left. Her salary is still in the budget. So therefore, whatever she was making, if we want to take a look at it, the other board members take a look at it, because her salary is still there, then I'm all for it.
What about administrator?
How much is she getting paid? She's still actively working here, part-time basis until the end of the year. How much is she getting paid now?
I don't know her salary
$75 an hour, I believe.
offhand.
Okay, was that put into the budget as a line item, or does that come out of what she's?
It comes out of what she's making, man.
Okay, so what's her salary now? What was the salary for the?
I'm sure it has to go do some negotiation. You got
It
because
can all be done, what you're asking for. And
can
when
we
we've done
do
it-
that? Because we have to
when
move
we've done in
forward.
the interim, we've hired an accounting firm,
Okay.
since the mayor has not put out yet for a finance director
You
or
had the county
manager.
firm when the village administrator was here.
Excuse me if I was
Come on.
I was being recognized, if you don't mind.
Pardon me, trustee.
Yvonne Redmond's salary is still in the budget, minus what she's getting for part-time. This is December. She's with us until the end of the year, which is right around the corner.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And her salary is still there for an finance director.
Till April 30th.
So therefore, I'm all for it. Or if you find one, we could possibly let her go.
So now, since the accounting firm is taking on a bigger role, was that budgeted? Or is part of that money come out of the finance director's pay?
This is the tit for tat that you're referring
not
to,
the tit for
and
tat.
I'd rather not respond because in the
Well, then
audience.
don't respond. It's not the
Well,
tit for tat.
here's a
It's a legitimate
suggestion.
question.
Here's a suggestion, so that we don't have to witness
Well,
it.
there is an answer.
You guys can do this
An answer.
behind closed doors, but come up with a solution. That's all I'm asking. We don't have to witness that.
Okay,
So,
what amount is the board going to put in the budget for a village administrator?
if you're not prepared to answer it tonight, you don't have to. What I'm asking
not
is
what this
put
meeting
a
is about.
plan together,
Exactly.
because this has to stop. I don't want to come to these meetings to witness this.
Ms. Wells, there is a meeting December 26th, a finance meeting.
And you'll talk about it then?
We could make sure this is on the agenda.
Please do.
Of that night, and I would like you to be there.
Another meeting.
Wait, it's the night after Christmas, so.
I know, right?
I don't know what was wrong with Trustee Muhammad when he planned that one.
I'm not sure, but we do need to get this moving. This is stagnant, and it really feels like schoolyard games, and we're all adults, and we're all over 50, most of us. I'm not. Just kidding. But we need to stop it, and let's move the village forward. I don't want to pay more taxes, but it seems like it's going to be inevitable. So I think that the residents really pay attention to what's going on, because your voice, your vote, it matters, because this is your vote.
No further questions. We'll go right into our
We have to do a roll call to go out, and then roll call to go back in.
okay. I'd like to get a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Make a
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been motioned and second to adjourn the public hearing. Roll call.
Trustee Muhammad?
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs?
Aye.
Trustee House?
Aye.
Trustee Denton?
Aye.
Trustee Pearson?
Aye.
Trustee Henyard absent.
Motion passed. Now I'd like to get a, we'd like to go right into the special meeting. Let the record reflect that the public meeting ended at 6:17.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back. Now I'd like to call to order the Village of Dolton Board of Trustees special meeting for December 10th, 2018. It's 6:18. And let's take the roll.
Trustee Muhammad?
Here.
Trustee Stubbs?
Here.
Trustee House?
Here.
Trustee Denton? Trustee Pearson?
Here.
Trustee Henyard absent.
Absent. Okay, we've called to order. We'll skip the pledge of allegiance. Okay.
It's up to
Okay. There's only one item on the agenda, and that's old business ordinance number 18-019, levying taxes for general and corporate purposes for the 2018 tax year, beginning May 1st, 2018, and ending April 30th, 2019, for the Village of Dolton, Cook County, Illinois. Can I get a motion to pass ordinance number 18-019?
I make a motion to accept ordinance number 18-019.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded by Trustee Mohammed and Trustee Pearson. Any discussion? No discussion. Roll call.
Trustee Muhammad?
I think that the ordinance should be read for the public and so that they can understand exactly what we're voting on. I would move that we read the ordinance into the record orally for the public.
Trustee Muhammad, copies were distributed to the public prior to the meeting.
My motion stands. Can I get a second?
It's not a motion, I think it's a request. Mayor? Do you-
Yeah, we'll read it. Okay. Everyone should have a copy. The ordinance is number 18-019, 2018, and ending April 30th, 2019, for the Village of Dolton, Cook County, Illinois. Be it ordained by the Mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Dolton, Cook County, Illinois, as follows. Section 1, that the amount of $9,065,190 is hereby levied upon all taxable property within the corporate limits of the Village of Dolton, Cook County, Illinois, for the 2018 tax year, beginning May 1st, 2018, and ending April 30th, 2019. Go ahead.
Forgive me for interrupting everyone. I stand corrected. The copies that you have before you are the draft that was submitted to the Mayor and the Board of Trustees. It came in at 4:18 p.m. At 4:31, we received another one with some revisions. So I'm going to go and have copies of that for you. So some of the numbers, as the Mayor's reading them, will not match what you have. But before you leave this evening, and as soon as I can get them to you, I will make sure that you have them. And my apologies for that. I'm going to do it right now.
Okay. I'm going to continue from section 1. That the amount of $9,065,190 is hereby levied upon all taxable property within the corporate limits of the Village of Dolton, Cook County, Illinois, for the year 2008, for the 2018 tax year, beginning May 1st, 2018, and ending April 30th, 2019, for the following corporate purposes, which sums are set forth under the column entitled Amount to be Raised by Taxation. Now, if you have your copies there, I'm not going to read everything here from just going into the general fund, amount that's going to be appropriated, amount to be raised by taxation. I'm going to go down to the total appropriation. The total appropriation amount is $18,796,014. The total amount to be raised by taxation is $9,065,190. Now,
Could you please read the summary into the summary of the tax levy into the record?
I'm getting there, trustee. I'm getting there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, now the summary. The summary of the tax levy purposes, the general corporate fund of $6,530,190 includes a $1,200,000 judgment for the city of Chicago. The police pension fund is $1,600,000. Firefighters pension fund is $935,000. Total tax levy of $9,065,190. Section 2, that the county clerk is hereby directed to add to the amount levied above a sum equal to 14% of said amount to cover the loss in collecting the tax, which 14% shall remain in effect for all future tax levy ordinances unless otherwise provided therein. Section 3, if any section, paragraph, clause, or provision of this ordinance shall be held invalid, the invalidity thereof shall not affect any of the other provisions of this ordinance. Section 4, all statutes of the state of Illinois or any parts thereof which are in conflict with the provisions of this ordinance are hereby superseded by this ordinance enacted under the home rule power of the Village of Dolton. Lastly, Section 5, this ordinance shall immediately be in full force and effect after passage and approval. This ordinance was passed and deposited in the office of the village clerk of the Village of Dolton on the 10th day of December 2018.
Okay, are we on discussion, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, I asked the clerk to distribute this here. Does everyone have this? How this affects your actual tax bill? Okay, everybody should get this in their hand. You should read projected 2018 tax bill. And at the bottom is a graph. I think the clerk is handing them out now. If not, they're at the table at the front. And what it does, it tells you what these actual numbers are, because it gets very confusing here in 13.57, 2.1%. What does that mean? So what I had Mr. Kankar, who helped put this together, to put together a graph or a chart that shows you how this levy will affect you as an individual, your taxes that you pay on a yearly basis, how it affects you monthly, and what addition it is to your tax. Before I go on, I want to make sure everybody's got this. Everyone has this? If you don't have it, raise your hand, please. Okay. Okay, at the bottom. You sure you don't have it? Okay, I think she's still making copies. I don't want to go over it unless you have a copy. And the reason for having it read, because the audience is not just the audience here at 14122 Chicago Road. We have an audience, as the gentleman mentioned earlier, our YouTube audience or our online audience. And oftentimes they don't see this documentation, so it's best to be read into the record so that they can see and hear it, because there's no graph being shown, there's no post-production. The clerk is behind you. She should have one of those for you, sir, right there. I hope this is what she's handing out. The wrong one. Madam Clerk, will they have this also?
In case we're not all completely confused, please disregard what I just handed out. That was the one that you already have, or one of the versions I received since 4 o'clock this evening. So I'm going to try it one more time. In addition, most of you should have the document that Trustee Mohammed is referring to with the real estate tax breakout. There are a few more on the front desk, and I will make some more if needed. But in the meantime, bear with us, please. Bear with me.
Okay, as I was stating, there were two persons that should have been here tonight that didn't make it. It was Mr. Kenkar, who will go into depth of what this tax levy means. Attorney Murphy, who's also not here, who could have went into detail concerning that $1.2 million that the mayor read off. That's part of that levy, paying the city of Chicago that $1,153,000 every year. And what this sheet that the clerk, and I think she said there are some at the table, it breaks it down to how does this affect me, Mr. and Mrs. Taxpayer, of my current tax bill for 2017, 2018, how much more it would affect you. I'll use me as an example. If you go down to line number 3, 5,000, I pay about $4,900 a year, but I'll round it off to 5,000. I would see an increase based upon this proposal of $248.50 per year increase. That would increase my monthly tax to about $21 a month. Now, for those of you who pay more or less, you can kind of see it. Now, you may have some here, and I know one individual pays about twice this, the one at the bottom. They pay approximately $13,000 a month. I'm sorry, a year in taxes, so you would just double that amount, and that would give you what you're paying per year and what you're paying per month. And that's on the, and I think that's an investment, a multi-family unit for that amount that I just gave an illustration for. What I'll do is I'll read what Mr. Kenkar put together on the projected 2018 tax bill. The 2018 tax levy ordinance proposed a tax levy of $9,065,190, which will include a levy for the $1.2 million City of Chicago water judgment. Due to a decrease in the real estate taxes levied for outstanding bonds, the total projected increase in the village portion of the 2018 tax bill is 13.57%. Assuming that the other taxing districts, and those taxing districts, as you know, are the Library, Park District, and others, raise their real estate tax by 2.1%, which is the maximum allowed under the 2018 tax cap of 2.1%, the projected total increase in a tax bill would be 4.97%, which is about the same as experienced on this year's 2017 tax bill. The following chart shows the projected total increase in a 2018 tax bill, assuming that the village passes the tax levy ordinance at $9,065,190, and all their taxing districts increase their taxes by the maximum allowed, which is 2.1%. Since we're in discussion still, Mayor, can I continue? Since we're in discussion, to kind of reference someone earlier about where we at and where we need to go, again, if you make that meeting, the finance meeting on the 26th of this month at 5 p.m., and we'll go into detail. We're going to break down this audit in layman's terms so you can see in the future someone asks, what can we do so we don't have to raise the levy as much as we do or not raise the levy at all. So what we'll do is we'll go through this budget and put it in layman's terms of some internal things that we propose to be put in place by a third-party accounting firm that would help eliminate or alleviate, I should say, some of this tax burden on the taxpayer. As we all know, the Southland pays the highest rate in real estate tax. Not only that, there is a report that came out by a group about the blacks that own their home are devalued at $48,000 less than their counterpart. And for those who know that report, you can tell me the name. It escapes me right now. It was a story I just read somewhere. But so those are two strikes against us. The advantage of most of us who are seniors, you get your discount or you get your exemption or your freeze, and that helps somewhat. But for those who are not 65 yet, that burden is on us. And the Southland pays a higher rate than the North Shore. That's just a fact. But what we have to do as a village. As I was saying, one of the things that we have to do with the curse that we have us in the Southland is internal controls. We have to reduce our expenditures. We have to reduce our expenses, and we have to increase revenue. I mean, it's an old-fashioned fact. The numbers cannot be, it's no hyperbole in these numbers. The way we get around that is to reduce our expenses and increase our revenue. And if there's money that's owed to the village, we should collect that. We're not collecting all the money that we should be collecting. We're not collecting all the money. You hear me reading the reports every month about the water bill. You all probably know them by heart. All that water that's outstanding. You have over $1 million in water that's due every month. I just heard today a report you got certain businesses that have not paid their water bill. I mean, there's a business, I don't know the name right offhand, but how can a business owe the village $5,000 and they pay their bill every month? So these are the things internally that has to be done. We have to get some controls in place to get a hold, at least collect the monies that are due to us, and then, of course, come up with some enhancing revenue things, such as the fire department and the police department is in the process of doing as we speak.
Okay, any further discussion?
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Go ahead.
I just want to say this before I take my vote. This is actually hard for me to do, to sit up and raise our taxes. I don't want to do this, but I don't see any way around it. Like I stated at the last minute meeting, that I didn't want to see us go into receivership. So that's why I am supporting this, because I do not want to see us go into receivership. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, I think we've got what we need. Why don't we take the vote here?
Excuse me.
My apologies again, Mayor, everyone. Just so we're clear, the version of the ordinance that you should have, the most recent one that the board is voting on tonight, has revised in the upper right-hand corner. If yours does not state that, I will be happy to provide you with copies before you leave this evening. But I think we finally got it.
Okay. Ready?
Do we have a motion? Oh, we did. Yeah, we did have.
Yeah.
On the motion to approve ordinance number 18-019, Trustee Muhammad.
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Denton.
Aye.
Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Henyard is absent.
Okay, motion carries, 5 ayes.
The mayor vote for this too?
Okay, next thing on the agenda is citizens' address. We're going to just keep it to what's on the agenda. We're going to ask that be respectful for anyone else that wants to speak. Okay, no one is approaching the board?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I just wanted to say I'm glad we all agreed on something this evening. I just want to say I think one of the big issues with this board is that nobody accepts accountability for nothing. And I think it only humanizes us if we can just say, okay, my bad, I made a mistake. Ain't nobody up there perfect. We're the ones that are suffering with this. And the fact that we got to get the arrows, we got to get the shush, we got to get all the disrespect to the same people that we put up there. We are tired. This is wearing down on us to come here every night and to have to, not every night, but whenever there's a meeting, to have to even deal with this. All you have to say is, I made a mistake. Because nobody's up there is not guilty of this. Everybody is guilty of this situation. I don't care who did it more than anybody. All of you all are on the same. Everybody's guilty for this debacle that we have. And for those of you, especially you, Trustee Muhammad, I want to make this personally to you. Again, when I told you that I'll make sure you, maybe you're not running for trustee, but I will make sure that you will not get another chance to be a trustee.
Okay, if there's no one here further to address the board, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been motion to adjourn. Roll call.
Trustee Muhammad.
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Denton.
Aye.
Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Henyard.
Trustee Henry.
Absent.
Did he adjourn?
He didn't say so, but yeah. 7:37.
La première fois